Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us in beautiful Marrakech. Maybe you could just begin by saying a few words about what it meant to you to be invited here and have the opportunity to be in conversation with cinephiles here in Morocco.
First of all, this is the first time I'm here, and it's going to be very interesting to explore Marrakech, be a tourist here. Then to be on the festival here in Marrakech, I have gotten to know before that it's a social festival. You meet a lot of your director colleagues and you end up in conversations with them. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Coming to your own work, of course, your most recent film, and I just have to say, one of my most favourite films of the year, saw it in Cannes. And the thing that really struck me when I came out is that I didn't remember the last time I had gasped, laughed, sort of shrieked in the cinema watching a film. How does it feel to see the reactions of people when they watch it? And I guess after the pandemic, returning to that shared cinematic experience.
No, it's fantastic, of course. And when I started the project, I said that I wanted to create a wild, entertaining roller coaster for adults. And so that was my goal already from the beginning. And when you make movies for the cinema, you have to create a reason for the audience to leave their homes and go to another place and buy a ticket and sit together and watch. I mean, the cinema is completely unique because we're watching things together. It's one of the few places where we're watching things together. And then you have to share an experience that in some way is provoking a reaction from the audience. So that was my goal, and it's fantastic when you see it works.
Seeing how it kind of fits into your filmography, let's say, and perhaps the way you could see it as a trilogy with Force Majeure and The Square, and kind of looking at the modern man, and how he fits into our world, and using satire to kind of draw out and explore some of the issues at hand.
Yes, I mean, I think it was when I was editing the film that I actually realized, okay, once again I made a film about a vulnerable man that is like fighting with the expectations of how he should be a man, the role of the man in a conflict with the behavior of the character. So it was fun to start to talk about it like a trilogy, because that brings back attention also to the two previous films. And then you can talk about Thomas that is running away from his family in Force Majeure, and you can talk about Christian that is running this art museum and is dealing with having a powerful position, and then together with Carl, that is this young model in Triangle of Sadness. So I hope that it brings back light on the two previous films.
And I just the other day watched The Menu, and which is obviously a slightly different world, going into the kind of haute cuisine in terms of food, and using satire as well. And I wondered, in these times, particularly somewhere like the UK, the cost of living crisis, why do you think it is with this kind of a preoccupation, let's say, of kind of using satire to look at these higher classes and kind of what can we see about the way we behave and a bit about humanity in the modern world?
One thing that I remember when Michael Haneke was making Happy End, he said that it's not possible to make drama anymore. We have to make farce, because there's no other way of describing what's going on in the world. And in some sense, I think that is 100% right. It's almost like when you look Up, it's called, right? Then that the satire in that film, actually the real world is it's portraying the real world in a kind of true way. So I also felt a little bit when I was writing Triangle of Sadness, for example, when I was doing the fashion show, I thought I made a little bit too much exaggeration and satiring how they were using these woke messages and so on. But it's even worse today. So it's hard to make a satire of the world.
And I also wondered, and through watching it, where people are struggling, and kind of this sort of grinder that you put your characters through, these obnoxious kind of elitist characters. Maybe there's some kind of catharsis, retributional catharsis, that someone can watch these characters and feel like they've had a little bit of revenge.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I think I love the awkward moments. I like when you see characters being like put up for a position where they are dealing with a dilemma. A dilemma is very interesting if you look at what it actually is. It's that the character have two or more choices, but none of them are easy. These socializing moments where we don't know how to behave, or where someone is breaking the social contract. For an example, people are starting to vomit or during a fancy dinner. I think that we human beings are very afraid of breaking the social contract. We are very afraid of losing our face. So I really believe that when you're watching them in the cinema, you can get a certain kind of pleasant feeling of, how to say, a secondary experience of it. You don't have to deal with it, but you see someone else dealing with it. It's almost comparable why we humans like to watch violence on film, because it triggers us, it gives us an adrenaline shock, a kick, but we don't have to deal with it ourselves.
So talking about that scene, what I loved about that as well is like it felt like you could have gone to sort of a limit in terms of what you were doing. You kind of pushed beyond that and went to such an extreme. So maybe you can say a bit about what you wanted to achieve, particularly that part of the film, but also in general in film. Maybe the shock factor or kind of going beyond our normal limits. What visceral reaction that can provoke in people.
But first of all, I come from a ski film background. I was making ski films when I was young, and I did this for many years. And when you were filming skiing and free skiing, the only thing you were trying to do every day was to go further than someone else had done before. And that is in my backbone when I'm directing films today. I'm always trying to do something that the audience have never seen before. So when I realized that I was going to do a vomiting scene on this luxury yacht, I also set the goal that I want to go 10 steps further than the audience expects. Because if the audience is not going to be surprised, it's not going to really have an effect on them. And vomiting scenes can be kind of silly. But if I go so much further than the audience expects, something will happen. And they will remember this scene, basically.
It does just look like you all had a whale of a time making this film, and there's such an incredible cast. Of course, very sad that we lost Charlie Dean. But Dolly De Leon, absolute revelation. And I think the person who looks like they're having the most fun might be Woody Harrelson, like leaning into this drunken Marx. And so what was it like working with these people, and maybe particularly Woody?
One of the ideas when I'm shooting a movie is definitely that the actors should enjoy it, and that we should have a collaboration where we are playing around and having fun and trying to figure out the best ideas, and that we have time when we're shooting. So we don't have to stress through when we're shooting a scene and then feel a little bit afterwards, we could have done that better. We actually have quite much time. I had 65 shooting days, and when we were shooting the vomiting scenes on the yacht, we were shooting it on a gimbal in the studio. So we were on this rocking gimbal 8 hours a day, and part of the crew became seasick and had to eat seasick pills and so on. Woody was completely fine doing it. I remember the first day of shooting we had, Woody was laughing so much, so he was laying down on the floor. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this shooting. You know.
And I did have a chance to speak to Dolly about her character and her role, and how she kind of saw her and created the backstory. But also, is the ending, without any spoiler, ambiguous? And she said she changed her mind actually from when she'd first finished the film and then watched it afterwards. In your mind, is it ambiguous, or is it for people to project their own ending?
I was actually only interested in that the audience could identify with the two possibilities. Either like that Abigail is using violence in order to maintain her position, to not lose her position in the group, or that she drops the stone and loses her position. But when people ask me what is happening in the end, does she kill her or not? Then I say, you know what, I actually don't know. And people don't believe me. But I'm completely uninterested in it, actually. I only wanted it possible for the audience to identify maybe she hit the stone in the head of Yaya. When I was writing the script, I had an idea that if you ask the audience, I wanted half of the audience to cheer for her to kill Yaya, and half of the audience to say, no, don't do it, drop the stone.
Obviously, you won your second Palme d'Or with this film. What does it mean to you, I guess, to be recognised by such festivals? What's the importance of those festivals? Did you perhaps see any irony in the room that you might be showing that film in that one, in the fact that it was honoured, and maybe it might have gone over the heads of some people, or maybe they were laughing at themselves?
you know, when I was writing the film and trying to finance the film, I pitched the film many times to billionaires. And they were laughing their head off. And they were just like, oh, I want to be in this project. So I think we actually have to look at the position of like wealthy people in a society, because it's not necessarily that you are not interested in trying to develop the society, trying to improve how we behave towards each other, only because you're rich. But the problem is, what do you do with your position? Should you give away your money in philanthropy? Seriously, it doesn't work. It will not bring out any better out of all the money. So I think we have to understand a little bit that people are very similar to each other wherever you are in the society, what position you have in the hierarchy. And when I'm making my movies, I really want to confront myself, and I am a part of Cannes. I'm a part of that audience that is in Lumiere, and I don't feel it's necessary to confront anyone else than myself.
And just very quickly, could you say a few words? I know you're stuck into the entertainment system is down, what people can expect, or how far you're along with that?
Yes, I'd love to talk about it, because a big part of my development of the project is to pitch it. But I'm working on a project called The Entertainment System is Down. And I kind of like the title. It tells you it's going to be fun, right? And it's a film that takes place on a long-haul flight. I'm thinking of one of the longest in the world, that is London to Sydney. Just after takeoff, the passengers get the horrible message from the crew that the entertainment system is not working. So when the iPhones and the iPads are charging out, the modern human beings that is so used to dopamine scrolling, you know, they are just doomed to boredom and analog life and conversations like that. So I think it's going to be very interesting to look on how modern human beings are going to relate to that situation.
The feeling of panic just thinking about it.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much for sharing all that with us, and really enjoy your time here in Marrakech and the conversation tomorrow.
Thank you
Thanks
so much. Thank you.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.